let's talk about content creation then. So I get so many questions when it comes to creating content and how to create content, where to create content, how do you do it, where do you do it, what do you post. So in this video I'm going to go through the who, the what, the where, the why and the when in regards to content creation. Business and you really want to make the most of social media and making sure that the time that you spend on social media is doing what it's supposed to do, and you're not wasting hours, weeks and days and weeks posting things that are not relevant and just filling the gaps with pointless, useless copy, content, or graphics. So when it comes to you really making the most of social media, you really need to think about the message that you want to get across to your ideal client. So that's the first thing you need to be thinking about, who your ideal client actually is. And this goes for everything in business, really. We always need to know who our ideal client is, because if we don't know those fundamentals, who our ideal client is, what our brand is and what our brand stands for and our business message and mission, we don't know what we're doing when it comes to putting ourselves forward into the online space. So you really do need to know who you are and who it is that you're actually speaking to first and foremost before it comes to any sort of, writing any post, creating anything, graphics or copy-wise for your social media. Who is your ideal client? What are they looking for? How do they learn? How do they intake information first and foremost? Because that's if you don't know how they intake information, how do you know what way to present yourself online? So if your audience, for example, really love to watch videos or listen, then what's the point in you writing, paragraphs and paragraphs and amazing, blog posts when you need to be getting online and showing up live or doing pre-recorded videos or podcasts, for example? If they're the opposite, if your audience love to read, then they're not going to sit and listen to, necessarily, they're not going to sit and listen to or watch your YouTube videos or listen to your podcasts. So who's your ideal client and how do they intake information is the first fundamental that you need to take on board when it comes to creating content. Then we need to know what our plan is in regards to what we're launching, for example. So if you're in the early stages of your business and you're just at the very start of building an audience, then you need to really allow yourself a good 3 to 6 months of just serving, just showing up in all the ways possible to be able to connect with your ideal client, build those relationships and really get to know them and get them and allow them to get to know, like and trust you before you start presenting any sort of paid work or paid content for them. If you're at the point of your business where you are selling products or services to them, or you're ready to sell products or services to them, then you need to know what it is that you're actually going to be selling. What are you launching next? What are you going to be selling next? Are you creating new products and services in the next couple of months? Because that then determines the message that we put into our copy and into our content leading up to that point, because you need to warm your audience up. So say, for example, in my case, if I was launching a business starter, so my business academy, for example, if I was launching my Build a Business Academy, I wouldn't be talking about leveling up your business or mindset or anything like that. What I would be talking about is start of your business, getting out of your 9 to 5, transitioning from employed work into entrepreneurial work. That's the sort of content that I would be creating leading up to me opening the doors to the academy or, selling the academy. If I was launching my mastermind, opening the doors to my mastermind, which is a level up program, I'd be aiming my content at people that are already in business, that are ready to go to the next level of business. So based on what you're then selling, launching, opening the doors to, putting out there and wanting people to buy, that is the first thing then you need to take into consideration after you know who your ideal client is and how they learn. what is it then that we're launching? What am I opening the doors to? Because I need to warm my people up, my audience up, talking about the things that I know will lead them on to then really wanting to purchase, buy, enroll, sign up to what it is that I'm selling in a couple of months' time. That's what happens. So based on what we're about to, put out there, it's kind of like creating a runway of strategic content creation in order to guide them into what it is that you're about to open the door. If you're just wanting to create content to just warm up your audience and allow them to get to know, like, and trust you, then you can talk about your content pillars, for instance. So every business has probably between 4 and 6 pieces or topics or pieces of content that they talk about all of the time that kind of makes up their business. So for example, with me, it's money, business strategy, mindset, self-love, and spirituality. So I have kind of 5 that I go to, that I talk about on a day-to-day basis. So then the next thing that I'll do is I will create a plan. Obviously, I'll take into consideration what I'm launching, but in between launching things, in between opening the doors to things, I will fill the gaps with those 5 pillars. And I will talk about those. I'll break it right down into weekly topics. So weekly topics, for example, it's now September that I've released this video. For September, I've got a topic per week, right? So I don't have to stress myself out with a different topic every day. What am I going to talk about today? What am I going to talk about tomorrow? It's just literally, right, this week I'm talking about sales, for example. So what I'll start with is I'll write an email. So the way that I put myself out there to my audience, I have a YouTube channel, I have a Facebook community, I have an Instagram, I have a business page on Facebook, and I have an email list. They're the 5 ways that I communicate with my audience and I build relationships with my audience. They're the platforms that I use. So as it stands at the moment, the first thing that I will do is I will write an email. And an email is very much like a blog. And I will give value and I will talk about sales within my email. The next thing that I will do is I'll pull out of that email some smaller paragraphs, maybe a quote, maybe I'll pick out 3 top tips out of it and create a graphic out of it. I will do a live video in my Facebook community. I will pre-record a video for YouTube. I will maybe create a story sequence for my or series for my Instagram. I will create a carousel or maybe go live on Instagram. I will use that one piece of content and I will reutilize it. I'll repurpose it in lots of different ways around where I show up for my audience. So it's one topic, it's one subject to talk about. When I'm creating content for that, I can literally pull out probably anything between 5 and 12 pieces of content. I can ask a question in my Facebook community based on that topic. So I reutilize my content, my one piece of content, I repurpose it everywhere that I show up. The next week, I'm talking about something completely different. So I'm not having to blag my brain out, having to think about lots of different topics at once when I'm trying to plan out my content for a full month, for instance, which means then scheduling content becomes so much easier. I can send my pieces of content out, schedule them out for a full month if I really wanted to, because I'd spend an hour or 2 maybe on topic number 1, an hour or 2 on topic number 2, an hour or 2 on topic number 3. So maybe a full day of work for me, but it'd get a full month's worth of content out. But I'm just literally sitting there and being inspired in one topic at a time. So that's how I work my content creation into my business, to make it simple and easy for me. I'm all about the simple life. I don't want to overcomplicate everything. I just want things to be simple. One topic per week, repurposed in as many ways as I can on my social media, to be able to get value across to my audience, to warm them up, to get them to know, like, and trust me in the way that I show up. And obviously it's a really good way it's a really good idea to show up in lots of different ways if you can, and if your audience obviously, you know, are receptive to that, for you to show up in an email, for you to show up on a YouTube video, for you to show up in a live video, for you to show up in, you know, a post and a graphic, for you to share quotes, because they can see then a diverse way of you communicating with them, and you are also going to hit every single, you know, point there, every single part of the internet world and the social media world in order to be able to put your business forward. Let's talk about like the when. So when do you post? When do you create content? When do you put content out there? As far as your audience is concerned, and actually putting it out there and pressing publish and publishing your content, that is, you have to work that out for your individual audience. So you may get, for me, it might be a weekend evening is the best time for me to send an email. But my audience on Instagram are active at 9 PM on an evening through the week. Or my Facebook community are more active through the day, through the week. So you can figure that out, and it's about testing the platforms, testing the areas that you show up, and figuring out what's best for you and your particular audience, and what content, you know, works the best. So once you've been creating content and putting content out there for a little while, please make sure, and in fact, to be honest, you need to be doing this monthly anyway, go back and evaluate your stats. What's worked? When have you posted it? You know, what has been the interaction levels? What's been the return on investment, for example? All of those things that you need to take into consideration. Your insights on your Instagram, your insights on your community, your back office of your email list, and your CRM system. What is that telling you about your open rate of your emails, and when you sent it? So make sure you're taking all that into consideration on a regular basis to know what works for you. So then you can then streamline your content even more, and making sure that you're putting the right content out at the right times. So that's the when. When to show up is obviously when your audience is receptive to you, is online and is active to be able to interact with. So we've covered the who, what, where, why, when. So the who is who your audience is. So who are we actually speaking to? Who are we creating content? What is your content pillars? So the main topics that you speak about, the main pillars that you talk about throughout your business, you know, from one month to the next. What platform are you using? And obviously that's based on where your ideal client hangs out. So that's where you need to be posting. So is it Instagram? Is it in a Facebook community? Is it YouTube? Is it a podcast? Is it in email? When is obviously when your ideal client or your audience is active and online and receptive to your content. The how is obviously batch creating, but by one topic at a time. So one topic at a time, based on what it is that you're launching, or if it is that you're just building, you know, a community and relationships with your audience and warming them up. So what are you warming them up for? To eventually sell to them, or to open doors to something pretty soon. Obviously the why do we have a content strategy? Why do we have, you know, a plan of action for our content? And that's to optimize our business, you know, and showing up for our business in the best possible way. So we're not just willy-nilly throwing pieces of copy and content and videos out there left, right and centre. We've really got a strategic plan in place in order to be able to get the most out of showing up on social media. And I know for a fact not everybody that runs a business has got all the time in the world to literally just be on social media 24 hours a day, and it's not healthy to do that neither. It's not healthy to be online 24 hours a day. There's other parts of our business that we need to work on. It's also, you know, really unhealthy because of our mindset. We need to make sure that when we are showing up on social media, it's in the best possible way, really serving and giving value to our audience in order to be able to turn them into paying clients eventually. So I hope this video has given you a little bit more of an insight on how I, you know, create my content, and I hope it's made things simple for you to be able to go out there now, put yourself a little content strategy in place, know what you're launching next, know what you're talking about beforehand, know what you need to do with your content, where you need to put it, and obviously then how to reutilize it and, you know, put it into more ways than just a live video or a blog post. So if you want any more tips, then obviously subscribe. I'll put my links below as well if you want to check out my website and any of the ways in which you can work with me. I am open to have chats with you